So it is a just war. And can I just speak about this business of recognizing Palestine? First of all, it's conceptually ridiculous. Where is it? I mean, what is it? Do they mean Gaza and what's called the West Bank? What is the West Bank? There are three big Israeli settlement blocks, residents, in the West Bank, so-called, which every negotiation for a negotiated settlement of this has accepted should be part of Israel eventually. Are they going to be part of Israel? More than, what, a million Israelis? They're going to be part of Palestine? Is Palestine, the state, going to include, for example, the western wall of the temple in the old city of Jerusalem, the most sacred spot for Judaism? This is all nonsense.
The question of Israel's status in the world, the pressure that's on it internationally. Ireland and Norway have officially recognised the state of Palestine. Spain is expected to follow later today. These diplomatic moves also follow what happened yesterday. The International Court asking for an arrest warrant for the Israeli Prime Minister at the same time as he called for a warrant for the leader of Hamas. Sunak has called the move deeply unhelpful. We had Michael Gove on this programme who was very angry about it. He said when they go after Assad first, then they can go after Netanyahu after that. I know Melanie has strong feelings on this subject, but first, Giles, to you. We could do ICC, but let's do the news of the day. Recognising the state of Palestine. Ireland have done it, Norway have done it, Spain is going to do that. Can you see the virtue in that? If you believe in a two-state solution, which neither side actually in the debate, the dispute itself do, is there benefit in recognising formally the state of Palestine?
Unilaterally, no, there isn't. There isn't, and it's disappointing. I mean, really, I feel like I ought to, because I feel like I ought to come after Melanie on it, only because I mean, but still, no, I don't think there is, and it's depressing. That's a depressing thing. Obviously that's with the proviso that I think Palestine should I mean, this is just like, how do you solve the Middle East? Of course, I think that Palestine should be recognized as a state. This I say from the point of view of a deracinated diaspora Jew. What do I want? I want everything in the Middle East to be fine so that nobody holds it against the Jews. So therefore, I feel that a state of Palestine has to be recognized. I sympathize hugely with the people of Palestine. I'd like them to have a homeland, but I can't deny that possibly my main reason would be so that they didn't attack Israel anymore, and then Israel wouldn't have to kill Palestinians in the numbers it's doing, and then everybody wouldn't hate Israel, and then as a result of unfortunate links, end up hating Jews. The problem with someone like me, as I would feed myself to Melanie in this regard, to the lion that is Melanie, but living in Israel, it's all very well for me to go, as a diaspora Jew, I wish Israel would behave better to make my life easier. And I know that everyone in Israel, whatever position, whatever side, whether they're pro or against Netanyahu, will say, shut up. Our business is not the health and well-being and kind of the happiness of people in North London. It is surviving as a state. So I personally think that they will have more security if they recognize Palestine, if that's eventually done. But no, when I see individual states recognizing, that looks grotty, and it has the width of anti-Semitism. There's all sorts of, as we know, sort of a whataboutery about other states, just as Michael said about Assad, that you would say the things you wanted recognized. So I don't like any more than when South Africa went after early on, quite in the early days of the crisis, when it started to make statements about genocide, which I just didn't feel it was the role of the South Africans to make. So I don't like, and obviously the ICC thing is also terrifying. Although the fact, I'm afraid at this time of year, with a person like me brought up the way, was I thought, what on earth has the International Cricket Council got to say about Netanyahu? I'm pretty sure he would bowl with a straightened arm and be called, but that would be anyway.
You're going to let Melanie go now. You're going to throw yourself to the line that is Melanie. Giles says it'd be nice if Israel could behave better for the sake of diaspora Jews. There is an argument, Melanie, that Israel has to conduct a just war justly. And the question of how they're able to do that, whether Netanyahu has been the right person to do that, whether they've actually made what is an appalling situation actually more difficult for themselves because of how they've been led, are all seem to me legitimate open questions to ask.
They are legitimate questions to ask in principle, but this is an entirely surreal and hallucinatory situation because you have a situation in which big lies are being bruited about as absolute truths. Absolutely right. Israel, like any other country, has a duty to wage a just war. And a just war is precisely what they're waging. It's a war against a genocidal enemy, which has said that it will perpetrate the atrocities of the kind that we saw on October 7 over and over again until Israel is destroyed, and until every Jew is killed. And any state would have a duty to itself to defend itself against that. It has to be done proportionately. It has to be done within international law. It has to be done within the confines of trying as best you can in warfare, where inevitably civilians are going to be killed, tragically, to minimize that. Now, Israel has done that. It has a far lower ratio of civilians killed per combatant than any country has ever achieved in warfare. 1-to-1, broadly speaking, and then there's a great row over the statistics. People have been fed Hamas propaganda, and the media throughout the West and politicians have been recycling that propaganda, for example, saying Israel is, as the ICC said, Israel is willfully killing civilians in Gaza. Israel is deliberately causing starvation. I mean, hundreds of thousands of tons of food and medical supplies and shelter equipment have been coming into Gaza. So it is a just war. And can I just speak about this business of recognizing Palestine? First of all, it's conceptually ridiculous. Where is it? I mean, what is it? Do they mean Gaza and what's called the West Bank? What is the West Bank? There are 3 big Israeli settlement blocks, residents, in the West Bank, so-called, which every negotiation for a negotiated settlement of this has accepted should be part of Israel eventually. Are they going to be part of Israel? More than, a million Israelis? They're going to be part of Palestine? Is Palestine, the state, going to include, for example, the western wall of the temple in the old city of Jerusalem, the most sacred spot for Judaism? This is all nonsense.
That's what Giles said. It's effectively asking to solve the Middle East problem.
Exactly. And secondly, it drives a coach and horses through the Oslo Accords, which say this has to be negotiated between the parties. It forecloses that. Thirdly, I mean, in principle, of course, it would be wonderful to have 2 states living side by side. That has been on offer to the Palestinians since the 1930s. It has been offered by Israel over and over again.
But no longer.
It was on the table.
Netanyahu has taken it off the table.
No.
He doesn't believe in a 2-state solution.
No, he has not. That is not quite right, because Israel, I think as late as I think the last one was 2008, I can't remember what it was. But basically, the Palestinians have been offered at least 90% of the territory they have been
He's just said in the last
for.
year there's no 2-state solution in
Well,
turn.
there's no 2-state solution because the Palestinians are waging war.
I'm just saying that neither side, Hamas don't want it, and nor does Netanyahu.
No, nor does the Palestinian Authority, whose Palestinian Authority police have been taking part in attempted atrocity after atrocity against Israelis. I mean, does anybody really expect Israel to say to people who are continuing to try to murder Jews because they are Jews and says so, does anyone really expect they should say, oh, please do have the state that you have been refusing for the last century?
And
this is madness.
Yeah, and how you draw a line between the Hamas and the people of Palestine is yet another thought issue which we are not going to solve now, I don't think. But it has happened today. Norway, Ireland and Spain expected to follow, recognising the
Well, let's recognise Catalonia.
You're just throwing out another thing we don't have time to talk about now. The independence of Catalonia as well.